Hi, my name is Izzy. I'm going into 7th grade, and one of my favorite things about South Milwaukee is the Avenue Coffee House, and this is the SM Way podcast.
Hi, I'm Dan Bader, Communication Coordinator for the School District of South Milwaukee. There's a ritual that we've all experienced, something that's cherished and honored across the entire country. It's unique in that it's not a holiday like Thanksgiving or the 4th of July. It doesn't surround a food item or drink like the Shamrock shake or Girl Scout cookies. But it is one that is unique to our culture, and we all have memories of it. Here's Clay, a South Milwaukee junior, telling me about it out on the new football field. Go ahead.
Why I love the first day of school is seeing all of my classmates I haven't seen for 3 months over summer and meeting new teachers I'll have during the school year and developing relationships that will benefit me in school.
Do you remember your first day of school?
Yeah, in elementary school, I remember my mom taking me out to the front yard and taking pictures of me and my siblings, and it's a little tradition that we always do for every first day of school.
Today on the podcast, we're hearing from the unsung heroes of that American ritual of the first day of school, the people who have worked all summer to get ready for that special first day of school ritual, the custodians and cleaners of our buildings and ground staff. I'd like to introduce you to Jacob Mazzaros, a 2018 SM alum and floating custodian in the district, who works in all of our buildings, but mainly at the middle school. So tell me about the work that you've been doing all summer.
So during the summer, it's a time where we're able to get into a lot of the classrooms and a lot of other places we can't normally get. And I would say a majority of the project is waxing all of the tiled floors and extracting the dirt out of all the carpeted rooms. Assuming we had everybody here at one time and not going at a rushed pace, it would probably take... We could probably get done with 4 rooms in a day, I would say.
How many rooms are in the school?
How many rooms? Back when I first started here, I was told it was about 80 rooms we had to get done during the summer. It might be a little bit more, it might be a little less. I haven't gotten an exact count in quite a while, but yeah, that's a ballpark.
Sure. And that's working around, because we have summer school and other programming, right? So you have to figure out which rooms you can do and when you can do them.
Correct. There's rooms like there's places like the cafeteria as well that take an extra long time to get into because it's a multi-purpose room. People go in there for cheerleading practice. The summer fun camp is held in there, and it's hard scheduling those days to actually get in there. And then other classrooms around the building, there can be teachers that come in and might want to reorganize their stuff. They might be getting something, prepping for the next school year. And as summer narrows down here, that's getting especially true. So there's things that we have to work around that make it a bit difficult to complete in a timely manner. So
How does it feel when you're done with one?
it feels great. Typically, carpeted rooms smell a lot nicer. You can visually see that some stains have gotten out of the floor. And then for tiled rooms especially, you notice a nice clean shine over all the rooms. You notice a lot of the scratches are out of the floor. There's no more gum stuck to the bottom of those floors. And it's nice. It feels fresh being in there.
I think it's underrated, but I think you guys do a lot to create that feeling of the first day of school. That sense, everybody knows what it feels like. I don't know if I can put a phrase to it, but just the first day of school. Do you guys think that way, that we're making this ready for students to capture kind of that feeling?
I would think so, yes. I think that students deserve a place that looks nice, that looks clean, that looks ready for them when they come back.
Okay. Do you have a favorite classroom here?
Do I have a favorite classroom? I would say I like working on the 6th grade wing, that one little hallway on the top floor. I like it a lot because when I first started working here, that was that was always the start of our summer. That's how we'd usually roll with things, and it's just a bit of a nostalgic feeling for it.
Did you know that every school day, nearly 50 million students and 6 million adults use close to 100,000 buildings, encompassing an estimated 7.5 billion gross square feet and 2 million acres of land? That's a lot of tile to wax and grass to mow, and it represents nearly half of all building like office space in the country. I'm almost quoting from a 2016 report by the 21st Century School Fund, the U.S. Green Building Council, and the National Council on School Facilities. The report points to research that shows that high-quality facilities help improve student achievement, reduce truancy and suspensions, improve staff satisfaction and retention, and raise property values. They're also integral to ensuring equity in educational offerings and opportunities for students. Here to talk about our little corner of the educational world is Bill King, the School District of South Milwaukee Manager of Buildings and Grounds. So Bill King, thank you for being on the podcast.
Yeah, Dan, thanks for having me here.
Good. So we just heard from Jacob about all the work that he's been doing this summer in the middle school, him and the team that he worked with. And I can't get over this thought that that is such an integral part of what the first day of school means. From your perspective, what work happens in the summer, and how does it kind of lead into that first day of school?
Well, that's a multifaceted question. So, summer we're working on projects, things we can't get to during the school year. We're also hitting every classroom with more of a top-down or a deep cleaning type of program. So, this year, with a suggestion from one of our custodians, we tried something different. We didn't have as much staffing as normal, so we tried combining elementary schools to get through the buildings, and then that led us into a little bit of energy savings as well, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a bit. But the tag teaming the buildings worked out really well. We had two experienced custodians leading our cleaning staff, which worked out well, and shared ideas, and the buildings are looking very well, very good and they were done quicker than normal, so that really helped us out. Preparing for the first day of school, the last day of school, always a big event. Everyone looks forward to that. We got those few weeks of June. We're just kind of all right, just kind of taking a deep breath from the year. Once that July hits is kind of when we really start attacking the buildings for getting the rooms prepared for the next school year. So they will go through top down. They will go everything from the lights down to the floor. We'll get touched in the room and get cleaned, and then everything put back together, ready for our staff and students to return late August, early September. Our cleaning staff will then revisit the rooms before the staff comes in after the cleaning, just to kind of touch stuff up. So we have in the district 727,000 and some square feet. I'd like to say every square foot gets touched, but the vast majority does as we're going through the summer. So we're trying to ensure that our kids are coming back to a clean and healthy environment. It's the start of a new year,
Yeah. Well, I was thinking, the shine of those floors and the crispness, the how clean the boards are, the whiteboards or chalkboards or whatever's in the room, that everything's in its place. And I know the teachers play a part of that when it comes to the stuff, but with you guys, those desks are in a straight line, they're spaced out. I just think if kids came back to the way it was when they left in June, it wouldn't feel as special. And I think that's something we don't think about. And it's kind of your crew that makes that happen.
Correct. First day of school is special for everyone, even our staff. Our elementary custodians, they know the names of the students coming in. They look forward to the students coming back. Our high school, middle school custodians, they again look forward to that, because once that first day of school hits, I don't want to say that's our downtime, but right now is really our busy time as we're preparing. That's when they kind of get into their routine. All right, this is what I have to do at this time. I do this at this time. It kind of settles back down for them into more of a routine versus the hectic day-to-day rush trying to get prepared for school. So everyone really looks forward to that first day of school, and then everyone starts counting down to that first break. It's just a natural progression. So our staff does a really good job with the resources we're giving on getting everything ready for our students to come back. It's a joyous day when they do come back, and then we will just start the process over again. Just kind of one of those never-ending cycles.
Yeah. So, question, you mentioned resources. Talk about that. How many staff members do you have, and what are the different levels of responsibilities that they have?
Well, that's changed over my tenure here. When I started, we were at 50-some staff members with full and part-time. Now we're down to around 30. We've restructured, trying to do more with less. Our budget, we haven't really, we've done some changes, but trying to more full-time type of staff, and trying to just work smarter with what we have. So we've made some changes to our cleaning schedules. We last year with Carol Dufik and myself instituted an A/B cleaning. So we're in every room every night, but every other night we're doing more cleaning, which in turn actually helped keep our rooms cleaner last year than they'd been in previous years when we were trying to get into every room every night. And with our issues in staffing, the new schedule actually helped us maintain a cleaner building throughout the year, through all of our locations, than trying to get to every room every night and doing everything in the room. So the restructuring we feel has worked. There's still some tweaks we'd like to do. We're working through those, but staffing wise, and knock on some wood, we're pretty close to fully staffed going into this year. A few open positions, not like previous years where we had 10 to 15 open positions going into a school year. So we're doing well. The 30 or so staff members we have, all for the most part very vested in the school district. Probably
a lot of grads actually. Jacob's a 2018 grad, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
We have numerous grads that work for us. Some of our custodians were grads here and have worked their way up. Started as summer kids for us and worked their way up through the system. Jacob is one of those. Started as a summer helper for us, and then kind of came to a part-time position, and then worked his way into a custodian position. So we have numerous. I would say over 50% of our staff, South Milwaukee residents.
Really? Okay.
So very vested in what they're doing and what they're doing for our students here.
So that's inside the buildings. Outside the buildings in the winter, you're keeping the walkways clear and salted and maintained at night when the kids leave, and cleaned. And what does that all cost? I mean, those 30 people all year doing all that work. What's the budget?
Hard to quantify a reoccurring cost. There's so many variables that go into it. Our annual operating budget, we're spending. We get, I believe it's around $1.06 per square foot, per square foot, to maintain the buildings throughout the year. Now, it's hard to quantify how much we spend on snow removal because that's such a variable. And our supplies is such a fluctuating cost because of price increases and everything. We do our best to try and offset that. Just this past year, we had 3 price increases on our paper supplies, so we just went through a conversion to help alleviate some of that. So we changed paper products in the district, new dispensers and new paper products throughout the district, which will help us save some money. We've also, at the high school, middle school, converted some of the bathrooms to hand dryers to alleviate some of that cost.
And cleanup, I imagine, too. Yeah.
Correct. We won't have the paper and on the floor, and kids will be kids. Sometimes it goes into the toilet, so we don't have those costs associated with clearing out toilets and doing stuff like that. So that will help us stretch our budget a little bit further. So
yeah. And speaking of budget, do you have some conservation things you put into effect here that one, I know that each building competes with each other to save energy at night. How does that work?
So what we do, something we instituted probably 3 years ago or so, was we have an energy cup. So how that works is we compare the electrical use for the building from the previous year's month to the most recent month with the electric bills that we have. And the building that has reduced that electric use the most gets to hold on to the little trophy for the month. And it's I don't want to say a spirited competition, but it is bragging rights for them. Lakeview, held it 4 or 5 months in a row. Unfortunately, they just turned air conditioning on. I guess how you look at it.
That's a good thing.
Fortunate for the building, they now have air conditioning. Unfortunate for our custodian who's competing for the energy cup, because that energy is going to go up a little bit because we're now running air conditioning over there. So, but yeah, quite the. It goes district wide. The staff they enjoy the competition. They look forward to the newsletter we send out with the results of that competition, and that's transferred into us actually. Since we started doing this, and I haven't run the numbers here, probably a few months, but we're looking at probably a 5 to 10% on average reduction per building on use. Now, as homeowners, everyone knows use doesn't always transmit into cost savings because you can't control the costs of energy, and those are constantly going up. But we are doing our best to control the use of the energy in our buildings.
Yeah, and how do you save energy in a building?
We've looked at a few things. So in my tenure, we are probably 60 to 65% of the way through converting all of our indoor lights to LED lights. Mm-hmm. So we were running halogen or fluorescent bulbs throughout the district. We're converted. Our elementary schools are almost done. High school, middle school, a little bit bigger, so we're still working on that conversion. But overall, as a district, we're 60 to 65% converted from LED in the past 5 to 6 years. So we've put our operating budget to use in making that conversion. We're committed to continuing that conversion until we have all of those lights in our buildings converted. So that is one way. The other way, the competition. We now have custodians. We, with the addition of the air conditioning at Lakeview and Luther over this past year, also came some building automation, which is a much needed upgrade. So now, instead of going room to room, we can now control temperatures via software at every building. So when buildings aren't occupied, our custodians can go in the winter, lower temperature in the summer, or spring and fall, the shoulder months, raise that temperature a little bit by simply clicking a few buttons. Hey, the teacher's going to be out for an hour. Let's raise that up a few degrees and set it for an hour. Then in an hour, it reverts back to its programming when the teacher and kids are coming back. So there's things we've looked at doing that we can help save on some energy. Our custodians, again, with the energy cup, they're always looking for different ways. How can I cut this? They're on their staff members to turn lights off when they leave the room. I don't want to say that they get nasty, but it's a continuous reminder. It's just reminding staff. A lot of our buildings, this campus has timers on it. So if they do forget to shut lights off, within 10 minutes, the lights will automatically turn off. So they're not on all the time. So things we've looked at putting in to help with the reduction in energy costs.
Yeah, and it's picking up in, it's translating a little bit because I know my supervisor reminded me to turn my monitors off when I leave. Even though I lock the computer and they go into low power, I got a reminder say, hey, I noticed I walked by and it was bright in there, shut them off when you leave. So I think we're all trying to help win the Energy Cup. And there's other things like stormwater management. We know we're kind of in a low-lying area. Water management is a problem. An innovative thing we have is the prairie land that people see. Tell me where that came from and how long we've been doing it.
I don't have the complete history on that.
Yeah, it was before you, right? I mean, so
correct.
Yeah.
That was before my time here. I do believe it was part of an agreement with the DNR when the campus was built that a certain percentage of the land here would remain as prairie land. So the district's made a very concerted effort to maintain that. We bring in a couple times a year resource environmental, and they maintain the prairie for us. So they'll go in, they'll pull out invasive species, make sure that it's healthy and that it's doing what it's supposed to do. As you mentioned, the stormwater management. Our prairie will drain. We also have 4 retention ponds that our prairies drain into, which then helps that water filter back through, back to the groundwater, which as it filters through the ground, the water is getting clean, and then it goes through its natural process. So with those 4 retention ponds, that's helping us, as you said, we are on a floodplain here. That's helping us alleviate some of the issues that may cause by being on the floodplain.
They also I imagine it takes less to I know you pay that group, but you're not mowing lawn, you're not fertilizing, you're not weeding. They do that part, but prairie lives here. It knows how to be here, right? So you don't have to maintain it.
Correct. It is a labor savings for us, much like the turf fields going in. That will be a big labor savings for us as we go throughout the years, which will help as we're looking at allocating funds, whether it's for operating or district-wide. That's things we'll have to take into account as we're looking at this. These projects that the district has done are very sustainable long-term, and that, I think, is first and foremost what we look at as when we're doing a project, not just what are the immediate effects, how is it sustainable long-term. So that's been a focus since I've been here.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of that, the football field, we had a really heavy rain on Monday. How did it do with the water? I know drainage improvement was part of it. How was the drainage out there?
You wouldn't have known it rained. So it was a good test for us. Now, this wasn't the rains that we had again before my time back in 2008, 2010, where the field actually flooded. But our retention ponds are not even close to full. The drought conditions we're in may have helped us a little bit, but the creek did not overflow. Retention ponds did not get close to full, and the field, just looking at it, you would not have known it rained, which is a good sign.
I think the marching band was out there the next day, right?
Correct.
Which you couldn't have done last year with the old field.
No, with our previous grass field, it probably would have taken at least a week after a rain like that before anything could get back on it, including lawn mowing, painting, that sort of it. The field would have been very soft. We would not have been able to get out there for quite a while.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a promise of that field that's coming true. Because our marching band wasn't practicing on it last year anyway. They weren't allowed. It's just football activities. And now, look at that. That was a lot of rain. I know it wasn't a big event, but it was a big rainy, wet day.
And we were very strict on the use. We worked with the coaches. Pretty much 8 times a year is all anyone was on that field to play games. And that's what it would take for us to try and get that field after a game back and ready for the next game. Thankfully, we don't have that issue anymore. It's going to be such an asset to not only this campus but the district for the use that we're going to get out of that field.
And the labor saving from having to take care of it, right?
Correct. As we look at sustainability, turf doesn't last forever. It's going to need to be replaced at some time. But we're hoping that our cost savings will offset that as we're looking at putting a certain amount of funding away each year into, and I need to talk with Dan Arnold, is into Fund 46 to try and maintain and have that ready for when that happens. If that's something that we're contributing to, or how he's doing that. But we've had those discussions. It's something that we're preparing for. Yes. But the immediate savings of us not having to go out and cut the grass 2 or 3 times a week, paint the field, at least once a week, getting ready for games, that labor savings alone, that'll go a long way for us. Yes.
So we've been focusing a lot on the 15th Avenue campus. For our listeners, that was paid for from a 2004 referendum. We paid the building, at least the high school building, off early. That money we borrowed, that got paid in 2022. You've been maintaining it. Well, your department's been maintaining it for 20 years. What are some projects now that that you're involved in this year? Because I know this was a big year for out there. We talked about the football field. What else is going on there?
So at the high school, last summer we had a flood. One of our roof drains failed, and our field house got flooded. Yeah. So this summer the whole floor is being replaced. So that is a project that is ongoing. We're expecting that project to be done by September 1st for the start of school year. So that we don't displace any Phi Ed kids. Athletics, a little bit of displacement in this month because of practice times, but working with Ante on that and just finding alternate facilities for him to be able to practice, have their tryouts, etc. While this is going on. Today, they're actually sanding the floor. They'll be staining the floor tomorrow. Next step after staining is the painting, and then putting the finishing coats on it, and then we'll be able to open that back up. The walking track is another that was affected with the flood as well. Right now that is tore up, and they will be in. We'll have that open by September 1st as well. The old track is out, just waiting for our vendor to come back in and put the new track down. So
yeah, and that wasn't at a cost to the district, right? That's an insurance claim.
Correct.
Right? Yeah.
There was our deductible, but that has been paid, and then yes, all the costs associated with this are being paid through our insurance company, which a project of this size it's a pretty substantial amount. So which is good.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the building got a deeper clean than you would even normally do in the summer, right?
Correct. COVID was one of those times, when most of us were locked in our houses. We actually looked at that as an opportunity. So our staff was labeled as essential, so we were in the buildings and we were able to get a lot of things done that normally we don't. This summer, historically, summer school is held at our high school. This summer, because of the projects we have going on, the decision was made to move it to our middle school, which gave us another opportunity in this building that we don't normally get. Usually by the time summer school ends and staff starts returning, it's a 2 to 3 week period that we have to try and get through the vast majority of classrooms. We had all summer here, so things that I don't want to say not the cleaning, but the general maintenance in classrooms, things that we can't normally get to in the summer, we're able to get to at this building this year. So, which is an added benefit, which helps us then in the long run as we're looking at keeping this building looking new. Building looks very good for being 20 years old. The summit that was held here last week, I was in the hallways and numerous compliments on how the building looked, which, it's it's always a good boost to the pride and ego when that happens. And I always make sure that I share that with our staff. It's not me that's out there doing that. It's our staff that's, from our cleaning staff in the evenings to our custodians during the day to our maintenance staff that's there assisting and helping. It takes that team to get that building ready and to have it looking like it does.
I escorted a family down to the guidance office. It was open and rolling, and it was time to get their schedule. And the mom attended here when the building opened, and she was bringing her son. They live in Cudahy now, but she's bringing her son in. And when we walked out of the district office near the PAC, and then his eyes just lit up at just how cool it looks, and how it does look brand new. And my kids too. Well, the first time I brought them here, they're like, "Wow, it looks like a college," And I could it's that feeling. It was that child I met just had a first day of school feeling. The potential of what he's going to learn or what he wants to. His future, it just seemed pretty bright to him right in that moment, looking at that. And for his mom to be here, she had spent most of her high school in the old high school and the middle school, and coming back, it's the first time back in the building since then. And it was just this really neat bookend to the whole story that we're trying to tell here.
Yeah, it is a beautiful building. And you hit it on the head. It does. It looks like a college campus. It looks as you walk in. Not the easiest to always maintain and keep clean from our perspective. That you have the exposed beams, the high windows, etc. And Carol and myself, we're always harping on. Don't keep your eyes on the floor all the time. Keep looking around. Notice stuff that needs to be done, and do your best to keep that clean. So, I will agree. My first time walking through this, and coming from a more traditional type high school, you're blown away. You walk through this, you're like, wow, kids get to come here every day. This is not a standard type of building that most high school kids are going to, and I think that goes into the thought process for the turf fields. That we're not doing just a standard type, we're trying, the design was for that wow factor. This building has that football field has that wow factor, that this district is unique and special in that way. And that's something that all the residents should be very proud of in this district. So it's, there's a lot of good going on here.
Well, that is a great place to stop. I agree. Bill King, thank you for being on the podcast today.
Again, thanks for having me.
That's our episode. Thanks for listening. And thank you to Izzy for our introduction at the beginning, for Clay for talking about the school, and to Jacob Mazzaros and Bill King for the behind-the-scenes look at their work. I hope you and your children enjoy the first day of school. Here in South Milwaukee, that's September 5th. If you come to our open houses in the coming weeks, or pop in to say hello, take a look around at how the buildings shine. The oldest is Lakeview, which was built in 1957. That shine is due to a lot of hard work. Have a great day.